I've noticed over the last few years that I'm finding myself using small and compact filmmaking equipment more and more. It has plenty of benefits. If I'm working with a crew, small and simple gear means moving from setup to setup quickly, which saves time and therefore money when you're paying people by the hour. And of course, when you're shooting alone, choosing to carry bulky gear with arduous setup times could be the difference in whether you can get the shot at all, depending on your physical strength and patience. But my question is, how much quality do we have to sacrifice in order to enjoy the benefits of an agile setup? That question was answered for me on my recent trip to Malta, but in a way, that opened up a much bigger point of discussion that we'll come back to at the end. So for this trip, I brought a carry-on sized backpack of equipment with me, already small enough that I can film all day long by myself. But for the first day, I left all of that in the hotel and just brought this little thing. It's a genuinely pocket-sized camera, and for the most part, I like it. But looking at the footage, I can see a few issues. The built-in microphone is just bad, and there's no option to plug in a different mic, so plenty of the outdoor footage sounds like this. And because it's so small and light, it's really quite difficult to hold steady, especially if you're moving in any way. For photos it's great, and with practice and by avoiding movement or zooming in, you can totally get some decent shots. But for me, it feels as if I'm leaning too far into small and simple equipment. The lack of quality outweighs the convenience of its size. And so on the next day, I head out with the backpack, a bigger camera with a proper microphone, and some goodies from Edelkrone, who have sponsored this episode and provided some products for this video. I do want you to know, however, that they haven't seen this video before it was posted or told me what to say. So out of the backpack comes the Flex Tilt Head 2, which sits under the camera and has plenty of uses. I like it for handheld shooting, folding it out to a little grip, or even balancing it on my knees for some extra stability. But it also works as a mini tripod, placing it on the floor or any flat surface, giving me the chance to get very close to the ground and adjust the tilt of the camera without needing to bring a full tripod. From bringing some extra equipment, now I've got a much better chance at recording decent sound and some extra weight that really helps with handheld stability. Now, does this setup fit in my pocket like the point and shoot? No, not even close. But it's still small enough to carry very comfortably in one hand, and is still much faster and easier to set up than a big old cinema camera on a tripod with an EVF and V-Lock batteries. On top of the Flex Tilt, we also have the Head 1, which adds the ability for motion controlled panning and time lapses. And then the Slider 1 version 2 can also be added for lateral movements. So here I set the camera to be sliding towards the wall while panning slightly left. And everything is controlled from the Edelkrone app. It connects with Bluetooth, and then you can pretty much set your start and end point and the speed. So by now we've had to use up a bit more backpack space, and we've added a bit of setup time to plug in the microphone and connect to Bluetooth. But along with that, we've gained some more options for improving the quality of our work, and so now we can get shots like this. Now I have to admit, what I'm saying here is hardly groundbreaking. Of course there are pros and cons to every piece of kit that you add to your setup, and so every project's equipment will sit somewhere between being small and easy but with flaws, or being higher quality footage but it's more bulky and complex to shoot. However, the truth is, there are so many more factors at play. One issue I kept running into was that these busy tourist spots rarely had the chance for me to film the landscapes with an empty frame. People were constantly walking past. In the time I was waiting, I had just a few seconds where no one was in the way of the shot, but at that point the clouds weren't as interesting as when I'd first set up the camera. And that's where it's helpful to have a motion controlled system, because it can do the same camera move at the same speed over and over. So I just took one of the earlier shots that did have a person blocking the view of the landscape, and just cut out the sky from that shot to overlay on top of the clear frame. And so now we've got the nice sky and the clear foreground without needing to wait even longer. And in the same way, at the busy tourist hub of Valletta, I don't know how long it would have needed to wait for this shot to be even close to empty, but by filming a few extra takes, I was then able to combine two of the shots in post to hide some of the people. And so this is where my little scale starts to fall apart a bit. Every shoot is different, and sometimes adding equipment actually saves us time on set, but then what if it gives you some extra editing work? And all of those things depend entirely on the circumstances of what we're filming and what we even want from the footage, to such an extent that I don't think this is a very useful way to think. And that got me wondering about how easy it is to think of myself somewhere on that spectrum. right? Like maybe I fancy myself as someone who takes the time to develop my ideas and is willing to carry the weight of a complex project through production, using more effort and time so we can climb that scale towards quality. And other times I look at myself and wonder if I'm sitting too comfortably on the easy side. For example, with this video you're watching now, I'm not sure I've given it enough time to reach its potential. It feels a bit like that day I was running around with the little camera. Sure, it's easy and quick, but I can't help but think that I'd have a better result if I'd slowed down a bit and not taken the shortcuts. But at the end of the day, shaky footage isn't always a bad thing, and spending more time setting up our equipment won't always give us better footage. I guess what I'm saying is that it's really tempting to equate projects that are difficult and time consuming with being of a higher quality, and the opposite for things that seemed fast or easy. But those things don't usually line up so easily, so maybe we shouldn't always use effort as a measure for quality. And what does that mean for our work? To be honest, I'm still trying to figure that one out, and I'd be very interested to hear what you think in the comments. My name's Cade, this has been DSLR Guide, and I'll see you next time.